joining us from. You all are welcome. I am by name Phoebe Yerima from Nigeria, and I am a passionate advocate for climate and SDG, and I'm also a climate content creator. And today I will be your moderator for this masterclass. You all are welcome to today's masterclass where we shall be discussing renewable energy. Yes, renewable energy is what we'll be discussing today, as you all know. And as the world accelerates towards greener and more resilient energy systems, conversations this whole space. We are speaker for today, Mr. Femi, Mr. Owoeye. Mr. Femi Owoeye is a social entrepreneur dedicated to improving environmental sustainability and economic growth in developing countries. With a background in chemical engineering from the Federal University of Technology, Minna, Nigeria, and further training at Lagos Business School, Femi has spent over 4 years in Nigeria's waste management sector. He focuses on creating innovative waste collection and recycling solutions, particularly within rural communities and the informal waste sector. Femi has led sensitization and community engagement programs, driving awareness and participation in waste management initiatives. His work extends to collaborating with public and private organizations on committees and policy formulation groups aimed at advancing environmental sustainability. Femi's ability to navigate between the private, public, and civil society sectors allows him to synergize efforts in addressing climate change and fostering economic development in his home country. So, Mr. Femi, we are glad to have you here today, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, Femi. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So just to confirm, is it going to be like an interactive session? I just make my presentations.
I think you can go ahead with your presentation for now. The interaction is going to be on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to communicate any questions they have with you.
Okay, just a moment.
Yes,
screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. So let me just go back here. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like it's going back and forth.
No, we can see your screen.
Okay, just a moment. You can see my screen, right? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining the class or the session. I'm super excited to be here, like I said. My name is Femi, and I work in the waste management sector. I focus on waste management, but my work cuts across various sectors in sustainability and circular economy. This topic is one that is really interesting for me because I've worked around it so much from my work in waste management, doing waste to energy, and also doing things like solar and wind energy as well. In Nigeria today, millions of people, depend on diesel generators. In fact, there's a joke going around everywhere in Africa that says that Nigeria is generator republic, which is quite unfortunate. Um, but in contrast, we have abundant sunlight. We have various form of alternative energy sources that can power the entire planet. The question is not whether renewable energy works. The question I would say is um, why are we not harnessing it? Why are we not using enough of the energy that we have in abundance? So I'll just jump straight into the introduction. What is renewable energy? Now you say that people on YouTube have to get to you. I wanted it to be like an interactive section, but it's fine. I'll just go through the slides and then you can pick it up from there.
All right.
So what is renewable energy? So renewable energy basically is energy that comes from natural sources that are self-sustaining, that do not run out. That that are self-sufficient in that sense. And unlike fossil fuels, they do not run out. So, for example, you have petrol, which comes from crude oil, and we know that crude oil is finite. For example, also coal. Coal is another source of energy, which is fossil fuel as well. And we know that those sources are finite; they can finish at some point. But renewable energy is not like that. We have abundance of it. It's like I would say in terms of my background, I would say it's a circular system where it never runs out. Um, there is always that source of energy, that source where you get the energy from. So for example, we're talking about things like sunlight. The sun is always going to be here. The sun is not going to die or finish one of these days. There's wind. There's always wind. And there's always water. And there's also heat from underground, from the ground. And then there's the last one, which is not on the slide. Okay, which is on the slide actually. Biomass, which is organic matter, and things like your food waste, things like grasses, wood chippings, and all those kind of things. One of the very good importance of renewable energy is that it helps us combat the problem of climate change. As you know, climate change is a big issue, and the idea is that we don't want to warm up our planet so much so that we start having adverse effects from the change in our climate and in our weather systems. And the other advantage is that it also reduces pollution by cutting down harmful emission from coal, from oil, and from also gas. Those are some of like the advantages that you find in renewable energy. And the other thing is we're going to talk about like is the problem. So why are we even talking about renewable energy in the first place? The thing about fossil fuels such as coal and oil, natural gases, and the likes, they have been a major source of energy for the longest time that civilization has been going on. However, they have a very serious drawback, which I listed some of them here. One is that they are non-renewable, which means that they have limited supply. So, as much as there is a lot of fossil fuel that we have, over time they become depleted. Those what's it called now? Those reservoirs that we have of crude oil, for example, are limited. So you find that in some areas, for example, in Nigeria, in the Niger Delta region, you find that they said, oh, they drilled oil in this particular location 50 years ago, and today there is no activity going on there because the supply of oil in that particular location is exhausted. So imagine that all our hope and all our focus is on that particular source of energy. We would run into issues over time. The other part is that they contribute to global warming. Like I mentioned before in the previous slide, burning fossil fuel releases harmful gases such as CO2, such as CO as well, and other greenhouse gases that can accelerate climate change and leads to devastating problems like flooding, for example, and extreme weather events like tsunamis, and cold. I think this is even really very, very important to mention because we have started seeing the effects of climate change more adversely, even in Africa, even though we have not contributed so much to global warming. This year, for example, we found out that we did not have Harmattan season in Nigeria at the time when it's supposed to happen. We have rain falling in periods where we are not expecting rain. So things like these are being enhanced by use of fossil fuel, which causes then for us to put out harmful gases into the atmosphere. And then there is also rising energy demand. As our population is growing globally, there is need, right, to meet those energy demands of the growing population. And if you depend on fossil fuels alone, it means you are going to be doing a lot more extraction. And many of these extraction processes are not even sustainable, and they degrade the environment, they cause pollution to water bodies and things like that, which, causes great harm to our ecosystem and also to the human health. I wanted to ask a question because I wanted this to be interactive, to know if people just want to talk about like some of the energy sources that we have in Nigeria, for example, but I think that's not possible. So
you can actually ask the questions and I would relay their answers.
So what sorts of energy powers Nigeria and Africa, for example? Maybe I get some responses before we then go on.
Okay. So guys, you can hear him. What sources of energy power Nigeria today? Okay, we have Amos Mugabe says energy that comes from natural sources like sun. Naomi Buanali says over here it's supposed to be raining, but it's very sunny and hot. Cecilia says hydropower. Hydropower.
Yeah.
We need more answers. Are you guys engaging, please? Okay, Lydian says energy from water. We have hydroelectric power. Another person says crude oil. So yeah, those are the energy sources. Someone said wind, energy from sun, solar energy.
Okay. That's good. Thanks for those responses. And I like the person who said it's supposed to be raining and it's sunny. That just shows you the effect of climate change. Our climate is changing rapidly, which is quite unfortunate. We need to do something about it. Yes, so I had a lot of response like hydropower, which is water. Someone mentioned gas. Someone mentioned oil as well. Yes, that's very correct. So majority of our power generation comes mainly from hydroelectric stations that are in Nigeria. Most of them come from like the military era. They are quite old. I think we have a new one recently in Zungeru, Niger State. So I'm not sure of the percentage, but I think it's around maybe 30% of our energy mix comes from water, so hydroelectric stations and all that. We also have gas, which is one of the major. Sorry, I'm trying to make my folder. Okay, so gas is also one of the major sources of energy we have in Nigeria. So we burn a lot of gas, to power our turbines and then give us electricity in the grid. And so gas has been by the federal government, gas has been our transition fuel. So because we don't want to also contribute so much to global warming, we are using gas, which does not have so much effect as compared to coal and some other heavier fuels. So we're using gas to transition to like cleaner alternatives. Thank you very much for those responses. So we'll go to the next slide now. Types of renewable energy. I know that we are familiar with many of these things. I'm just going to run through this now. We have solar energy, and this basically captures sunlight using solar panels to generate electricity or heat. So 2 ways for solar energy, and which the one we are most familiar with are those ones where we have solar panels in our houses, or you see solar panels. The panels convert the sunlight into energy, and then it is stored into batteries, and then you can use the energy stored in the batteries when it's dark, at night when there is no sunlight. There are some solar panels that actually that also get sunlight even at night. They are special form of solar panels. The other part is then using the sunlight directly to generate heat. So we have very large mirrors. I think they're called concave mirrors or convex mirrors. I can't remember which one exactly. But basically giant mirrors that absorb sunlight, and then they channel that sunlight to one particular spot, which causes high energy intensity, high heat intensity at that particular spot, and then it hits that area up. And so what is done is that particular area, like something like water or some fluid is put there so that it boils and then produces steam, and then it's also used to turn turbines and all that. So those are like 2 ways that you can generate energy from solar, from the sun. Then you have wind. This is quite straightforward. You have the wind basically just converts wind current into power. So you have like a fan blade, like a blade. The wind turns the blade, turns a generator, a motor, and then the motor then generates energy that is either stored into batteries or used directly by sending it into the grid. Just have a baby coming here, like baby's awake, so just pardon me for 2 minutes. I might just have to say hi, Nathan. What's up?
It's fine.
I'm in a meeting. Saying hello. Come meet mommy. Come here. Come meet mommy. Okay. Sorry for that. When toddlers are awake, you have to listen to them. The other is hydro power, which is most common to us in Nigeria, and I would also say in Africa. And it's one of the oldest and most reliable energy sources because, I mean, you have rivers in most countries, you have rivers in most communities where you can just put a dam, you store the water for some time, and then you release the water when you want it to flow to a particular direction into a turbine, and that turbine rolls and generates power, which is then transmitted directly into the grid. There's also geothermal, and geothermal basically is please forgive, just give me 1 minute. I need to attend to this man. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. You can go ahead. Okay, guys, while he's away, he has shared with us.
So,
okay,
sorry for that,
you're welcome.
For that, I'm back now.
That's fine.
Yeah, so just need to go back to my presentation. Okay. So can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Right. I was talking about geothermal, and basically, this uses natural heat from beneath the Earth's surface. There are certain areas in the Earth where there is constant release of heat from the ground, and that basically is just piped into like a water system. The water is heated from the heat from the ground, and then the steam from that process is also used to drive turbines and so on and so forth. So So yeah, just another question. So why do you think we call these energy sources renewable? Why are they renewable? All the sources that we listed just now.
Okay. So let's get your answers, everyone. Why do you think these are called renewable energy? Let's have your answers. Okay, sorry, would attend to questions at the end of the class. For now, just we need an interactive class, please. So let's get answers to these questions. Okay, this person says in Uganda, few people have embraced wind energy as a source of energy. Here someone says they are unlimited in supply. Guess that's the answer to why they are called renewable, because they are unlimited in supply. Okay, this person says because they can be replenished. Another person says because they can be reused for several years. We have another one says because we can regenerate them. This one says, I think they are renewable because they can replenish themselves with nature. Okay, someone says they have the ability to replenish themselves. After time, use again and again. They are not exhausted. They can't be depleted. Today's usage doesn't limit future generations' usage. Love the answers. This person says they can't be depleted. Today's usage does not limit future generations' usage. This one says because they come from natural resources. Another one says they are unlimited in supply by nature. Okay, keep them coming. Yeah, so basically we are establishing the fact that they can be replenished over and over. Okay. They are sustainable, yes. Because they can't be exhausted. It's naturally occurring. So these are some of the questions. These are some of the answers we've been getting.
Okay. Thank you. Those responses are actually very beautiful. I think there's a common denominator among all those answers, and it's that you can't exhaust them, and that they are
Yeah.
natural. They are found in nature. You can use them over and over again. Thank you so much for engaging that. So we go to the next slide. So let's talk about wind. Someone said in Uganda, people are embracing wind energy. Yes, that's amazing. Wind energy is one of the most reliable source of renewable energy. Although there's an upfront cost, but it's really good. It's a really good source of energy. And I think in Nigeria as well, we have something called the Wind Energy Council, where we are also trying to embrace renewable energy from wind. So wind energy harnesses the natural movement of air to produce electricity. It is one of the cleanest and most sustainable ways to generate energy. Like I mentioned, wind energy is one of the most sustainable ways to actually generate renewable energy, because it just harnesses wind. It just it's just wind turning your blades and then converting that into energy. And some of the properties of wind energy is that it is effective mostly in coastal and high altitude areas. So in coastal areas where you have the sea breeze blowing, um, and also in high altitude areas where you have a lot of wind, it's also very effective in those areas. And it's one of the fastest growing energy sources worldwide because countries are investing heavily in wind technology. To cut carbon emissions. Because compared to solar systems that are quite expensive, wind energy just there's not so much to do. And for example, solar energy, for example, you need to convert from direct current to alternating current after you get the energy from the sun. But for wind, you get alternating current directly, so you can just put that into your grid immediately. You don't need to start doing a lot of conversions and a lot of phasing and all those kind of things. And the next one we have is solar energy, which is one of the most popular ones. This, it is energy gotten from the sun, and so you have solar panels um, converting the sunlight into energy, which is then stored into batteries. Some of the advantages of solar energy is that it is abundant in sunny regions. For example, in Africa, Africa has a lot of sunlight, and so it's an advantage for us. We might not have so much of wind, but we have sunlight in abundance. In some countries in Africa, we have around up to 6 months of sunlight, constant sunlight in some regions, where you can harness solar energy. And it can be used in homes and communities. So unlike things like wind energy, where you need to install very large wind turbines, although they are smaller wind turbines, but for solar systems, you can have a small solar system in your house, which is quite common in Africa, especially in Nigeria, where you have homes setting up small energy systems from solar systems. You have your solar panel, your batteries, and your inverters, and all those. Some of the disadvantages is that it is actually expensive to install initially, and it depends on sunlight. So when there is no sun, then you don't have you don't have energy. Except then you have batteries, which is also one of the disadvantages because you have to spend so much money on batteries. Unlike in the wind energy, where you just have your wind turning your generators, and then you produce energy directly into your grid. So the next one we talk about now is wind. I think, did we talk about wind before? Okay, we talk super about wind. But so some of the advantages and disadvantages of wind energy is that it produces clean electricity and it has low operating costs, like I mentioned before. Unlike solar panels and solar systems, where you have to have very large amount of initial investments, and you can produce large amounts of power. You have large wind farms where you have a lot of wind turbines there, and then you can generate that and put that into your grid directly. You need constant wind, which is one of the disadvantages. Constant and strong wind, not just small breeze. You need proper wind. And then also sometimes you have noise as some of the disadvantage. The other disadvantage I've seen also is that it also impacts our ecosystem. So things like birds, sometimes there's a lot of bird strikes where the blades can kill birds when it's rolling. Some birds fly into the blades and then they are killed. Things like that are also some of the disadvantages. And then you have hydro, which is one of the most popular and most widely used in our region and in the world. The biggest dam in the world recently was commissioned in Ethiopia. I forgot the name of the dam now, but yeah. So the world is still leaning towards this particular form of energy because it is way cheaper in the long term because it's just water turning your turbine and generating electricity directly. Some of the advantages is that you have reliable electricity. Most regions that have constant electricity actually use hydropower for their energy needs. And you can generate large power also just like wind, because you have large volume of water going through your turbines to generate energy, and then they last longer. For example, compared to wind energy, most most wind turbines end up getting decommissioned after a few years of use. And one of the other issues that one of the other disadvantages of wind energy is how the waste from the process is actually handled, because the materials that are used to build those wind turbines they are newly engineered. They are not materials that we are used to. They have to be produced like from new materials, and we don't have existing systems to handle those kind of materials. So recycling or reusing them becomes very difficult. That's the other disadvantage of wind turbines. Some of the disadvantages of hydropower is that you have like expansive dams, so very large dams. For example, I mentioned the one in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. There's the other one is the Tree God Dam in China, which is also one of the largest dams in the world. I read somewhere that when the dam was completed, it's affected the Earth rotation, I think, by 1 degree or so. So you need like very large expanse of space to build dams that can work effectively, and they can affect our ecosystem. Things like animal life, wildlife in the downstream. So when you block up the water, the people who are downstream then do not have access to water anymore. Fishes, wildlife in those waters downstream get to die, and they actually impact our ecosystem adversely. Flooding of land during construction, and even after construction, because you find that in some areas in Africa, and I'll use Nigeria for example, when some dams are opened in some neighboring countries, it affects us down here, because the dam has been closed for some months and then it's open all of a sudden. There's flood in those areas, and people must have built houses around those places. So yeah, if there's any question for, okay, I think I just finished this, and then maybe we'll ask questions. And then you have geothermal. Geothermal energy takes advantage of the Earth's natural heat stored beneath the surface, and this is a renewable source of energy, a continuous supply of power. So this basically uses the heat from underground, converts that into steam, and then uses it to turn turbines. In some countries where heating is a big deal, the heat is just piped directly into homes. So in countries where you need a lot of heat in countries where you have a lot of snow and cold, they just take the heat from underground and pipe it into their homes as a form of energy. And then you have biomass. And biomass is basically from organic materials. So things like food waste, crop waste, manure, and you also have like wood chippings from construction and all that. And basic thing is you use waste to produce energy. Things like biogas production. So, for example, we at my organization, we have a biogas plant where we convert food waste into biogas, which is then pipes into a generator, and that generator turns and produces energy for us. Some of the advantages is that you can reduce landfill and methane emission. Methane gas is one of the major contributors to climate change, one of the greenhouse gases that causes climate change. And by using waste to generate electricity or energy generally, you can reduce the impact of methane gas. You can also create fuel, electricity, or animal feed. So depending on how you want to go about it. Some of the benefits of renewable energy, we already talked about this in our opening slide, and I will just run through this. So number one, it is sustainable and replenishable. It has low operating cost after installation. For example, wind, for example, hydro, and you can create jobs and boost local economies by setting up on renewable systems. So let's talk about this. So how can young people drive renewable energy solutions within their communities? Just from what we've seen now, what do you think we can do as young people to drive renewable energy solutions?
Okay, guys, we have another question. How can young people drive renewable energy sources? You can drop your answers. Let's have your answers, please. How can young people generate, how can young people drive renewable energy solutions? Let's hear from you guys. Please, this has to be an interactive session. Okay, okay. I think we have some response here. I see advocacy. Yeah. Someone said policy. We have adoption. Yeah. Someone also said we start by reusing what we have in our homes. This person says technology development and innovations. Another person says building innovations around renewable energy. We also have educate those around us on importance of renewable energy for them to know their advantages over non-renewable. We also have through formation of groups where young people can create awareness through sensitization within schools and communities. Yeah, innovation and just transition. Someone says supporting renewable energy policies. This one says awareness, innovation. Someone says raise awareness about renewable energy within communities. We also have through innovation and educating people. Yeah, someone said getting involved in the innovative sectors, running renewable sources. This is nice. Someone says creating waste to energy recycling systems. We have through educating and sensitizing, generating energy from the local sources, innovations and applying organic roles in using energy. We have partnership among startups in the renewable space. Yeah, through innovative ideas, awareness in community. This person says teach and raise awareness among people on how dangerous it is using non-renewable energy. Sharing what we are learning to sensitize the community around us.
Wow, those are very interesting points. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing those. I think it's actually interesting that we are on the same page. I had a lot of advocacy. I had a lot of getting involved in innovation, creating innovation around renewable energy and all that, which is very important. We are not the future anymore. We are the present, if I should say it that way. We are actually in charge of our own future. So, yeah. The one thing that I just wanted to point out is that yes, beyond advocacy, beyond trying to do innovation and all these things, we need to be actively involved in creating policies and getting a seat at the table. And how can we do this? Is by getting knowledge. I think young people can can have a role in this energy transition by engaging in courses or even deliberately taking courses around renewable energy. So, for example, if you're an engineer, you want to do a master's, for example, you want to do a master's in renewable energy. And it's not just about the technical part, there's also the financing part, because renewable energy have like high upfront cost. So you can take courses on renewable energy financing, for example. So my point basically is young people can learn, can take courses, can learn, basically improve their knowledge on the subject of renewable energy and and things around it. So things like policy, some things around financing, for example. Those are areas that we don't find a lot of young persons participating. You know, we probably participate in innovation challenges and all those kind of things, but when it comes to actual policy, financing and things like that, you don't find a lot of young persons there. Thank you very much, everyone, for those responses. So yeah, I wanted us to do an activity, but I don't think that's possible because we have to join certain groups. But I would just ask generally, in your opinion, I mean, what form of energy source do you think would solve the energy problem in your community? So maybe we just get answers to that, and then you can then ask your question, because I am done with my slide already. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's hear from you all. Can we see the question slide?
So just really, what energy source do you think can solve the energy problem in your community?
Okay. So this is individual question. What energy source do you think would solve the problem of energy sources in your community? Okay. I think I see biomass energy can easily be generated since it's from organic materials. It also reduces waste in the environment. We have to actually focus on practical solutions instead of the solar, wind, and EV scam. We also have solar energy, cheap and readily available. It's everywhere. This person says hydropower can help my area. Someone says solar energy. Someone says nuclear is the only option. Okay, I can see someone saying solar is expensive and unreliable. I'm seeing a lot of solar energy. I see involving young people in learning and using renewable energy. We also have water. Someone said hydropower. This person says solar energy, safe and cheap. We have solar energy would solve my community issues, being the fact that it's accessible, risk effective compared to other sources like biomass. We have hydropower and solar energy. This person says hydroelectric power from Uganda because energy is got from generating it from water, which favors the environment both in the rural and urban areas. We also have solar energy and renewable energy. Okay, someone said nuclear is dangerous and needs a lot of money and equipment. This person says, I think using solar energy because we can have smaller solar panels for our homes and use it as electricity. This person says solar energy would be the most ideal However, there are many challenges, including those that harm the environment, so it's a bit challenging. I see with so much sunlight in the northern part of Nigeria, solar will do just well. Yeah, okay. So, okay, this person says, I went to college to work on advanced solar power. My senior project was a system analysis, and solar is disastrous for three reasons: not enough raw material, transport, or storage. This person says solar energy can help solve electricity problems in my community because we have a lot of sunlight. Solar panels can provide clean and affordable energy for homes and schools. Okay, something different. This one says wind turbines, though expensive, but can go a long way in assisting my community.
Mm.
Here I see Malawi is a country full of rivers and lakes of which it is easy to use compared to wind, which is difficult for Malawi to harness it. So I think hydroelectric power can work in our country. So these are the
Amazing.
responses I got.
And I think with those responses, right, it just shows that there's no one size fits all to this thing, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what's available to you and what's most reasonable, for example. So in a community where you have a large body of water, right? Even if you have sunlight, it only makes sense that you harness the easiest one, which is hydropower. In the long term, it's going to be cheaper for that company. So it's on a case by case situation where it depends on what's available to you and the amount of money that you have in things as well. So really, there's no one size fits all. Different communities have different needs and also how they want to harness energy. Something I also wanted to point out was that a lot of persons talked about solar. While solar is actually very good, I think it's also important that we look at it from the context of Africa. Africa is a developing continent. You have countries that are trying to industrialize, and there is no country or continent that makes progress without industrialization. The problem with solar energy is that, except you just want to have like retail solar systems in your house, in your offices, if you want to do like proper energy intensive activities that need heat, that need a lot of equipment, you need to invest heavily in that solar system compared to investing in a wind system or hydro system that then generates large amount of energy that you can use that has high energy density, for example. So I think it's just important to put that out there that yes, solar is good since we have a lot of sunlight, but we also need to think about what we want to achieve. Is it for industrialization or is it just for daily usage? So I would allow everyone ask questions if there is any question. Um, Thank you for having me and thank you for listening to my presentation. So please, questions, I'm happy to take them.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Femi, for this very, very insightful session. I think it's time to take questions. So if you have any questions, please drop your questions. You can drop your questions now so they can be attended to. Let's have your questions. I saw some of you dropping questions earlier. You can drop them now. I'm sure this session was also very insightful to all of you. So let us hear from you guys. Questions. Okay, Gilbert, you can go ahead. Ask your questions in the chat box, please. Okay, someone is asking, can we have your LinkedIn profile?
Sure. So you just search Owoeye Femi. You would see
Sorry?
my. Can you hear me, or should I send it to you?
Okay, yes. I think so it can be shared to the group, right?
Sure. Okay. But really, it's
Okay.
just Owoeye Femi. Owoeye Femi. Um.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Okay.
would.
You can also send it so it will be shared. Someone said, my question is using wind energy can lead. Okay. The question is, can using wind energy lead to extinction of birds?
Okay, when you say extinction, extinction is a big. It's like the whole species of those particular birds are no longer existing. I would not say extinction. I would say it basically just affects them negatively. So that it's a big issue for wind energy, but I don't think it would lead to extinction. I think it just has like adverse effects on the ecosystem, especially for birds. And there's a lot of work going around trying to stop how to mitigate that. A lot of wind turbines now come with like special equipment that puts out signals that doesn't allow the birds come in those directions. It's just like saying, for example, aeroplanes. A lot of bird strike happens to aeroplanes. It does not cause extinction of any bird species. So I would say that it just has like adverse effects on the ecosystem, but not necessarily extinction.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, to the WhatsApp group. It will be shared to the WhatsApp group. I see someone asking, how can solar power be scaled up in rural areas?
Okay, thank
How
you for that.
can solar? Okay.
So for rural areas, there's something called mini grids, which is something that Nigeria is doing a lot of currently, through the REA, what's it called now? Rural Electrification Agency. So basically, mini grids are um, systems where you don't have like small solar panels like on individual houses. You have a central renewable energy spot where solar panels spread out, and then all the energy is collected into that point, and then it is shared to the community. So I would say that that's like one of the major ways to scale solar systems or renewable energy in rural areas by setting up mini grids, such that you generate energy in the community and you share it to the communities as well, instead of having like individual houses having to supply their own energy. So you have a central system in that community that serves only that community, and then you can use it from there.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I have another question here. Someone says, with increasing population growth, which energy source is most ideal?
Okay, so thank you for that question again. I mean, ideally, I would say wind, and the reason I'm saying wind is that it doesn't it doesn't use any um, natural resource that we depend on solely. So if I say hydro, for example, we use water So with population increase, you need people. People also need to use water, right? So there's no competition for wind. It's just wind. People don't use wind to breathe. They just use it's just air, right? So I would say wind with population increase. The other one I would say, yeah, wind really, because you can generate wind on the sea. You don't need to. It doesn't have to be on the land where you need people to then build houses and all that. So on the sea, you have waves, tidal wave systems also that does not have to use turbines like fans and all those. There are systems that use the waves of the sea to capture that energy and then convert it to energy for community. So I would say that wind energy is one of the, in my opinion, wind energy would be that source of energy. Thinking about population growth, and then alternatively with solar, large scale solar systems, not like small individual solar systems in your homes, like large scale solar systems where um, you generate energy in a concentrated area and then you send it into the grid. Yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Femi. I have another question. Sir? To
Yes,
your
I didn't get
question.
that.
I think it does. It does. So there's another question here that says, what do you say about nuclear energy? Is it dangerous to use it, and can it be one of the renewable energy to use?
Okay, thanks for the question. So yeah, there's a lot of debate around nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is one of the most safest, cleanest, I would say, and energy and large energy producer. So what I mean is that nuclear energy actually produces a lot of energy, right? Um, it is the challenge with nuclear energy is how you then dispose the waste, because over time those radioactive elements are used to produce the energy get used up, and then you need to dispose the waste from those systems. Over the years, most nuclear reactors have buried the the remains underground, waiting for the shelf life of the radioactive elements to what's it called, to exceed. So the problem with those systems now is that those things take like hundreds of years for it to reach its half life, for it to actually decay. Um, so that's like one of the biggest issues with nuclear energy. If not, nuclear energy is one of the best options that we have as a society, because it produces large amounts of energy even from small, tiny, particles, I would say. And then the other problem is the problem of safety. So take, for example, there's an earthquake or there's a natural disaster. You you don't want to expose your community to radioactive elements. So when there is earthquake, for example, and then the whole building collapses or something happens to the system, and then there's a leakage of those radioactive elements, you cause more harm than you actually causes good. So those are like the two major things that is causing people to even shut down their nuclear plants. How do you handle the waste, and then how do you deal with the aftermath of accidents and all that? So outside that, I would say that nuclear energy is one of the best source of energy that we have. There's a debate as to whether it is renewable or it's not renewable, because, like I said, there is waste. There is waste after the process. So our definition of renewable is that you can use it over and over and over and over again without depleting any form of resources. So yeah, that's my own take on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm going to take just one more question and then we round up. we can't go over all the questions. So I'll take this one. It says, is it wrong to say wind energy can contribute to too much tree cutting as it requires bare ground to operate successfully? How best can it be used to promote afforestation? Did you get that?
Yes.
You're mute. Okay.
Yes. Just a minute. I wanted to get a picture up. So, wait.
Okay.
My baby is really, he wants to be part of this class.
It's fine.
Okay, I can't find a picture, but so I don't think that wind turbines cause any harm to trees, because typically wind turbines are way taller than even the natural ecosystem that we have. Please pardon me, my baby is here. He's going to be in this class for some time.
It's okay. It's fine.
So yeah, wind turbines do not necessarily affect the vegetation around. If anything, you can actually introduce trees even into the surrounding area, because you're talking about like hundreds of meters of height for the wind turbines. I don't know that any tree can get to like the height of an average wind turbine. So I'm not sure that that's a problem. It only becomes a problem if you're talking about, and we've seen videos of, and there is a sunflower plantation just by the wind farm here on my screen. So yeah, it's not a problem. I don't think it's a problem. The only problem that wind poses is usually to birds and flying animals.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope that answers your question, Felix Moses. So this brings us to the end of our class. We'd like to say thank you. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Femi Emmanuel, for this very insightful session. It was truly eye-opening because we learned a lot from this. And I believe the participants also learned a lot from this. So you guys, I hope you have taken the attendance, because I saw the link was dropped a couple of times. Make sure you sign your attendance before you exit this call. And yeah, I think we're done. Thank you very much once again. And I encourage you all to make sure you like this video, follow and subscribe to our channel to Crest Echo Networks channel to get first-hand information and notification for subsequent programs that will be going on. Thank you so much for your participation.